Police across the United States made at least 275 arrests over the weekend as campus protests against Israel's assault on Gaza continue to spread. In Boston, police detained about 100 people after students set up a Palestine solidarity encampment on the campus of Northeastern University. The school justified the raid, citing what it called virulent anti-Semitic slurs after someone chanted, "Kill the Jews," at the encampment. But video and eyewitness testimony revealed the anti-Semitic chant was actually done by a counter-protester holding an Israeli flag. The group Huskies for a Free Palestine said, quote, "The only people hurling anti-Semitic slurs last night were Zionist counter-protesters attempting to instigate our peaceful encampment. Despite this, the university exploited this moment to lie about our encampment and justify the brutal arrest of over 100 students," they said. In St. Louis, police arrested more than 80 people at a pro-Palestine encampment at Washington University. The arrested included Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein. At Arizona State University, police made around 70 arrests on Friday as they broke up an encampment on Alumni Lawn. At Indiana State University, state police arrested 33 people Friday as they broke up an encampment on the Bloomington campus. Despite the police crackdown, campus encampments continue to spread, including at CUNY, the City University of New York.
Today we have an encampment in City College, City University of New York, and we are demanding that CUNY divests and be transparent with the investment. And we are demanding that students, workers of CUNY cannot be harassed, cannot be doxxed for standing up for Palestine.
On Saturday, protesters rallied outside the White House Correspondents Association dinner in Washington, D.C. Protesters staged a die-in to honor the more than 140 journalists killed in Gaza during Israel's assault. Protesters screamed, "Shame on you," as journalists dressed in black tie attire entered the Washington Hilton. Code Pink co-founder Medea Benjamin was violently thrown out of the hotel as she attempted to hold up a sign reading, "100 members of the press killed in Gaza."
I was standing here quietly with this sign and got so roughed up by the security and thrown out of the hotel. It's quite ironic because tonight was all about press freedom, and it seems like standing here with the sign is something that's a lot worse than 100 journalists in Gaza being killed.
During his remarks at the White House Correspondents' dinner, President Biden made no mention of Gaza, but he repeatedly criticized Donald Trump, who he called Sleepy Don, after the former president repeatedly fell asleep during his criminal trial in New York. The U.S. State Department's decided against placing sanctions on the Israeli military despite a finding that 3 Israeli units had committed, quote, gross human rights violations, unquote, against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank prior to October 7th. Last week, there were press reports that the Biden administration was preparing to impose sanctions on Netzeh Yehuda, an ultra-Orthodox Jewish battalion, but the administration has since reversed course. In other State Department news, Reuters is reporting some senior officials within the department have advised Secretary of State Blinken that Israel's not using U.S.-supplied weapons in accordance with international law. In a memo to Blinken, the officials cite the, quote, unconscionably high levels of civilian harm and Israel's, quote, killing humanitarian workers and journalists at an unprecedented rate, unquote. In related news, the New York Times reports the Israeli government fears the International Criminal Court may soon issue arrest warrants for senior Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, over the war on Gaza and for Israel's blocking of humanitarian aid. Hamas officials could also face ICC arrest warrants over the attack on October 7th. Meanwhile, Israeli authorities arrested 7 people, including a number of rabbis and Jewish American peace activists who tried to bring aid into Gaza on Friday. We'll speak with the Israeli-American author Ayelet Waldman and Rabbi Alyssa Wise. Both were arrested Friday on the Gaza border. Plans for a Freedom Flotilla to sail from Turkey to Gaza with 5,000 tons of life-saving aid have stalled after Guinea-Bissau decided to remove its flag from 2 of the vessels on the flotilla following pressure from Israel. We'll speak with an organizer of the flotilla after headlines. Ukrainian troops have begun retreating from several villages in eastern Ukraine as Russia intensifies its attacks while Ukraine waits for a new shipment of arms from the United States. Over the weekend, Russian forces reportedly captured 2 villages in the Donetsk region. Russia has also ramped up attacks on Ukraine's railroad station in an attempt to disrupt weapons supply routes. In political news, Arizona Republicans have named an accused fake elector for Donald Trump as a National Committee member for the Republican National Committee. Arizona State Senator Jake Hoffman was indicted last week with 17 others in the plot to overturn President Biden's 2020 win in Arizona. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations launched a probe into the recent death of Frank Tyson, a 53-year-old black man who died after police pinned him to the ground inside a bar. Body cam video shows Tyson repeatedly said, "I can't breathe," but officers ignored his pleas as he lost consciousness. The body cam video shows police waited 5 minutes to check for his pulse, then another 3 minutes before CPR was started. One officer is heard joking, saying, quote, "I've always wanted to be in a bar fight. I don't know if this counts." Unquote. Frank Tyson died just 12 days after being released from 24 years in prison. In Colorado, former paramedic Jeremy Cooper has been sentenced to 4 years of probation with 14 months of work release after he was found guilty of criminally negligent homicide in the 2019 death of Elijah McClain, the 23-year-old black man who was walking home from the store when he was tackled by police, placed in a carotid hold, and later injected with ketamine. In March, another paramedic, Peter Kuchiniak, was sentenced to 5 years in prison for his role in McClain's death.